Howdy ho, my peeps, and welcome to the first Goober versus Guru mask video. The first one in the 2.0 series. Cindy and I did this, I don't know, a couple years ago, where we did this weekly thing where we'd put on a mask, face mask. This time I'm using this one my son gave me. And we talk about beauty, just sort of, you know, extemporaneously talk about beauty. So it is you're seeing this, or rather, this video is coming out on a Sunday. It is the Thursday night before. I'm going out of town this weekend, so I'm videotaping this. Videotaping, God, I'm so old. This is videotaping to me. I'm shooting this video a few days early so that I can make sure it's ready for, ready to be released on Sunday. Anyway, yeah, so we're going to talk about beauty while we mask up here. Beauty. You know, for me, beauty is important. It's especially important in my environment. It's not something that I express personally very much. Obviously, I'm, you know, no makeup Cheryl with often ratty clothes, and, you know, I'm nothing to write home about. Let's put it that way. But that doesn't mean that beauty is not important to me, and it is. But primarily it's important to me in my environment, which isn't looking too pretty back there. It's looking like it needs to be, needs to be put away. Anyhow, I have discovered recently that I have a few things in common with some old celebrities, some of them dead, in regards to beauty, the beauty of my surroundings. I was watching, I don't know, something on my news channel the other day, and well, I better tell you what this is before I go any further, so I won't be able to put my glasses on once I get up by my eyes. So here we go. This is the So Fresh, So Clean, Young, Cool, Now, Groovy Green Tea Wash Off Mask. It's got, it's 15-minute facial therapy, self-heating, mud-based formula for all skin types, made for him and her. That's what it says on here. And it's got a bunch of junk in it. Vitamin E, witch hazel, some botanical things are in here, quite a bit. Let's see, talc, clay, you know, all that stuff. So it's got all the junk you would expect to be in a clay mask. Anyhow, I really like it. I've used it before. It goes on very smooth, and it's tingly, and it dries pretty quickly. So I thought this would be a good one to use as my first one out of the gate. Anyhow, so one of the people that I have a lot in common with is Gloria Vanderbilt. Gloria Vanderbilt is the daughter of the Vanderbilt family, they were very wealthy people in the United States, you know, turn of the century. And she was a very wealthy young girl, but by the time she inherited, she didn't inherit much, just a few $1 million, that was it. I mean, like 2 or 3 million, it's hardly anything. And what she ended up doing was she ended up building a consumer brand that sold clothing, perfume, I think home goods. I'm not positive about that. But, you know, stuff women would buy. My mother loved Gloria Vanderbilt jeans. She just loved them. They fit her beautifully. And I never knew much about her home environment until I saw this thing on Facebook about she was talking about having achieved the age that she is, and you know, how did she get to be this stylish and this old, essentially. And in the background of this interview, you could see her house. Now, this is where I have a lot in common with Gloria Vanderbilt. Okay, in her house, her apartment in New York, she has her possessions. She has a ton of possessions, just like I do. And her possessions are layered in her environment. A lot of different colors and textures, things hanging on top of other things, beautiful artistic layouts of just items, you know, just stuff that she owns. And it looks so beautiful. And a lot of it it's just as cluttered as mine is, maybe even more. Now, I use the term cluttered very loosely because I like layers of things. I like having clutter around me as long as I can keep it clean and more or less dusted. And so, for me, this clutter is not a problem. I know for a lot of people it is, because minimalism is in right now, and I'm just not a minimalistic person. I'm just not. So anyway, it was kind of interesting to see Gloria Vanderbilt's environment and recognize how similar it is to mine. I mean, you know, her items are valuable and, you know, expensive and all of that. My items aren't, but they're real similar. Lots of china, textiles. The color, our color palette is kind of the same. That was really interesting to me. I guess I sort of did on a, you know, thrift store budget what she has done on her rich lady budget. And it was a complete surprise. I had no idea that I had anything in common with her, her aesthetic. Another person who I discovered I have a lot in common with, and by extension so does she, is Victor Hugo. Victor Hugo was a French writer. He was in exile for a while from France. He lived across the channel on the Isle of Guernsey, and he could see across and see his homeland from where he was living. And he missed it. And I can't remember how long he lived in England. Those of you who are better educated than I will know that. But his house, I think it was a 4-story townhouse on this island. And up at the very top was a cupola. So that if you went to the top of the townhouse into this small little room that was right on the top of the roof, and it was all surrounded in windows, you could see out, you know, quite far, blah, blah. Well, and that's where he worked, was up in this cupola. Anyway, this townhouse was another study in layers and in color. Layers of things upon layers of things. He did something really cool in his kitchen that I just loved. His kitchen walls and ceiling have been plastered with these pieces of blue and white china that was common in England in the 1800s. I think it actually came from China, and then they started making this stuff in England as well. Anyway, it was all blue and white, and he would take like a bowl, and it would be plastered into the wall, or a bunch of plates in an array would be plastered into the wall. Some of them looked like they had been broken. Some looked like they were intact. But it was just this bizarre way to cover walls. I mean, it was sort of like today's found object art that you see people do in their yards and stuff, only applied way back then. It was just a really, really odd thing to see. And apparently the way he decorated his house there was quite different. It was notably different at the time. There's another room that it's all done in different shades of red, which sounds horrible, but is wonderful. There are tapestries on the walls and the ceilings, lots of fringy things and drapey fabrics, and they're all done in these different, well, now they're different shades of red. I mean, I don't know if they were different shades of red at the time. They might have all been one shade and faded differently. I don't know. But it's just fantastic. It's just beautiful. And the textures it's like you want to touch everything. They look, soft, or they look silky, or they look, the fringe, you just want to like do this and run your hand along the fringe. At least I do. And every room in that place which is now a museum, has that same kind of just weird, sort of timeless cool to it. It would be as not appropriate, but it would be as timely now for what you would call the boho looking design scheme as it was timely for him at the time. So I love the Victor Hugo house. I go and look at pictures of that every once in a while. And I know there was a third person whose name is escaping me now. But I've been thinking about that. I've been thinking about my environment, my home environment, and why I keep the things I keep, and how I'm feeling the urge to get the stuff out of storage that I put away just because I didn't know what to do with it at the time. While my family was sick and I really wasn't here to think about my life, I put a bunch of stuff away just so I could make some room. And now I'm feeling like I want to pull it back out again, and I want to apply it. Apply it to my walls with glue. Because there are so many things I like to look at that I don't have them out. Also, looking at those two apartments, hers and his, it sort of gives me license to be free, to not have to do something because that's the way you do it. You have a window with two things hanging beside it. You don't have to do it like that. You can have a window with something hanging in it and something, screwed to the ceiling above it if you want to. You don't have to be constrained, or rather, I don't have to be constrained by decorating rules. I can make up my own. And that's always been a stumbling block for me. I've always felt this pull back to doing things a little more conservatively. Not so much because that's the way I wanted them to be, but rather because I was worried, I think, that really letting myself go and do things the way I want them to would be so odd looking for the average person that it would cast me in a kind of a stranger light that I'm already casting myself. Let's put it that way. But as I'm getting older, I'm realizing that's not only does it not matter, but maybe it's a good thing to cast yourself in whatever light you want to, regardless of how odd it seems. Which brings me actually back to physical beauty and the expression of it. I've talked to you guys about different people in my life when I was a kid, and there's one girl, she's a woman now, we're the same age, who has always represented freedom of choice to me about physical beauty. This woman's first name is Kay, And she and I went to high school together. We were in our freshman year of high school. We had all the same classes, so our schedules were identical, which we noted after a few days, and then we just became friends. Then she spent the rest of our high school career at a different school, but it didn't, quell our friendship at all. We still hung out a lot and sent letters. This was long before cell phones, and had a lovely time growing up together. But this girl was so unique. I'd never met anyone like her before, and I don't think I've ever met anyone like her since. She was, and probably still is, tall, willowy, beautiful face, long, slender legs, very attractive girl, real pretty girl. She did have awful hair, and she was the first person to admit that. It was very coarse, a kind of a strange brownish gray color, sort of a dishwater brown color. But she did not let that weird hair stop her. She decided that she was going to take herself in hand, so she went and she got this haircut that looked like a British schoolboy haircut. It was almost kind of looked like, what's that guy's name? Hugh Grant, in a way. She sort of got that haircut, and it was perfect. Looked great with her hair, looked great on her face and head because she was just so beautiful. Everything was, she's one of those people who has mathematical beauty. Everything's where it's supposed to be from a mathematical standpoint. So she gets this haircut that nobody else in the school had, and I just loved that. It was so unique. And every once in a while she would be taken with some new thing, and she would do it even though no one else was doing it. And the one thing I remember, she came over to my house one time. I hadn't seen her in a little while. We were going to go do something. And she was dressed in a shirt dress that she had made. I don't know if you guys remember shirt dresses. That's from a long time ago. But it was, they were kind of tailored like a shirt, but then they were long, and you usually put a belt around them, long like to the knees or whatever. And she had made this out of, I think it was like white cotton with pink rosebuds or something. She was wearing the shirt dress. Underneath the shirt dress, she was wearing a pair of Levi corduroy pants, bell-bottom pants like we all wore. So she had tan-colored Levi's underneath the shirt dress, and she was carrying a handbag she had made. It was a big kind of hobo-style handbag, and she'd made it out of, I think it was 101 Dalmatians, or it might have been Goofy, the Disney character Goofy. One or the other. I think it was 101 Dalmatians print with in a red background. So nothing she was wearing went together at all. I mean, it was like 3 different things pulled from 3 different categories, 3 different color schemes. You were never supposed to see these things together, right? But somehow on Kay, it looked so good. And I remember that day vividly because that was the first time in my little pea brain that took so long to finally develop. It was the first time I realized, you know what? You can make your own rules about how you want to express yourself. And as long as you step out with confidence, you can get away with practically anything. Well, I never applied that to myself. I was way too insecure. But I've never forgotten that day. I've never forgotten how wonderful she looked in that strange outfit. And from time to time, I've thought about her over the years as I finally grew up and grew past being insecure and all that. And I'm really glad that I have the memories of Kay when I was a teenager, when we were teenagers, to sort of use as a touchstone for decision making as I've grown up and gotten past the stuff that held me back when I was a kid. So anyhow, Kay, if you ever see this, and you might, thank you for being you. You were, and probably still are, a wonderful object lesson for me. You taught me so much just simply by being yourself, so thank you. All right, this stuff is beginning to feel kind of is beginning to tighten up. The tingle's going away. Let's find out how long we're supposed to leave this on. I'm going to do something you're not supposed to do. I'm going to put my glasses on over this thing. Try not to disturb it too much. And let's see what it says. It says approximately 10 or 15 minutes. And I've been going well past that. So I'm going to close. I'm going to close my little talk about inner and outer beauty right now. I'm going to go wash this off, and I'm going to come back and we will conclude this video. Okie dokie, I'm back. My glasses are clean. Put them back on. Boy, I tell you what, there is nothing like a nice quality minty clay mask to readjust your attitude. I feel so much better. When I took it off, I used a very rough terry cloth, washcloth and warm water. So, I kept taking it off and rinsing and taking it off with a washcloth and rinsing. Well, what happens is that rough terry cloth does a really nice job of exfoliating, or at least it feels like it does. So, my skin feels tight, not uncomfortably so, really clean, real tingly, real soft. So, yeah, I love my 99-cent store mask that my son gave me. He gave me 2 packets of it, so that should last a while. So anyhow, inner and outer beauty, both important, but to varying degrees to each of us. Some of us couldn't care less where we live or what it looks like, but the hair, the makeup, the clothes always have to be a certain way in order for us to feel comfortable. Other people, like me, live on the other end of the spectrum. I don't pay any attention really to my hair, my makeup, or my clothes, but my environment must be beautiful as I perceive beauty in order for me to feel comfortable. And that's been one of my biggest issues in the past couple of years, is I haven't paid a lot of attention to the beauty that surrounds me, particularly back here in my kitchen and in my bathroom, and my bedroom actually too. But I just haven't stepped up my game. And as you guys know, there's a procedure in place. We are going to step up our game in terms of how those rooms look. And so I think when we get back from our little vacation, the first project that my husband's going to need to work on is getting the ceiling in our bedroom, the insulation up, and we're using beadboard as our ceiling, our actual ceiling. So that project needs to be done because we are facing rainy weather and we are facing cooling off finally. He also has a little place he needs to patch up on the roof outside to clear up a little leak that we had in one corner of that room. And once that's done, then we can address the other ceilings in the house. I'm not going to replace all of it, but I am going to run furring strips on all of it, so that these panels that are beginning to sag are put back up where they belong. And we'll paint the ceilings as well in the house. So, there is work to do. And you guys know about the decor stuff I want to do in the kitchen with, making some custom-made doors for the cabinets and repainting, and maybe hanging some art glass or something in the window. We've got all these different ideas. So all that stuff will happen too over time. So anyhow, thank you for coming along with me on this first Goober versus Guru. Oh, I'm the Goober, by the way, because I know nothing about beauty, of masks and makeups and all that. But my friend Cynthia, who video is going to be linked below, so go watch hers as well. she's the guru. In fact, her whole channel, which is called Old Broad. Those of you guys who don't know about her channel, go check it out. It's all about mature skincare and makeup and that kind of stuff. She does a lot of tests. She does a lot of working with sample stuff. I mean, it's real interesting. Her format's real interesting. So if you are a woman of a certain age and you are interested in the different beauty stuff that's out there, do check out Cynthia's channel, linked below. So we're going to be doing this every Sunday for a while. So if this was fun and you enjoyed it, tune in again next Sunday for another one. Bye.